All right, welcome. This is the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I'm your host, Jeremy. Glad to be back in the studios here at All Points TV. How's it going, everybody? Are you enjoying the last and final days of spring? It's a good time to be a duck here in Michigan, formerly known as Michigan, now known as the Great Swamp.
I don't see how we can tolerate any more water.
We are getting more rain as we speak. It's on the way, being delivered shortly.
I mean, and anybody tells me we need this for our water table. Our water tables should be sufficient.
They're going to be high again. They're already predicting. If people aren't paying attention, I don't know. But yeah, the water tables are high. Great Lakes are going to be up high. So,
I don't
know. It's a bad thing. I mean, yeah, it's obviously like it's bad for farmers right now. You know, if they can't get their fields in because it's too wet.
Yeah, I guess some places basically they're already asking, are you going to just start it? You and try to plant a crop, or you just want the insurance money?
Right.
That's what they're asking. So.
Yeah, after a certain date, there's like the percentages go down every week, and after they get to a certain date, they just cut it off and say, all right, well, you'd only be at potential 30% production, count it as a loss, and pay the difference right now. So. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Farming, whatever. Hey, this is the Genesee County Compassion Club show. Already getting off on a tangent. We haven't even started yet. We're going to talk about what's going down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Got some events going on. We want to get you up to date with those and let you know what's been going on with the rest of the news and so on. Get you going here. But, man, it's a beautiful day. Like I said, rain's on the way, and it's finally warm out, though. That's a nice thing. It feels like summer's here now. So with only a week to spare or so, a little more than a week, it should feel that way, right? Good grief. All right, we had an amazing weekend last weekend. I know a lot of folks made it out to the Cannabis Cup there in Clio. I guess it was a huge event, very well attended, thousands according to the paper. I know a lot of our members are out there and had a great weekend, so kudos to you guys. It's sweet. And I mean, congratulations to all the winners. I know we had a lot of our members out there. We're pulling in first, second, third place cup winners, and that's freaking amazing. So great job. I think it's just a testament to the caregivers and the patients here in Michigan, to the 10 years that you've put into this program. It shows. And from what I did hear, I don't know if this is true or not. I wasn't there myself, but that there were some of these licensed provisioning centers were represented at the Cup as well. I don't know if they were distributing product or actually competing or what, but from what I hear, the caregivers were the ones that were cleaning up the Cup events. So kudos to you guys. Congratulations, and keep it up. Obviously, we've got another big event coming up here real shortly. It's right behind me. This is Michigan's Caregivers Cup. It's going to be absolutely awesome and probably equivalently awesome to the one you just were at this last weekend. So this is a medical cup. It's, like I said, for patients and caregivers, but there's going to be a lot going on. It's kind of a reggae-style music fest along with a whole lot of other artists as well. Camping, full on. The G3C will be there. We're going to have a tent. Super excited about that. We're going to be signing up people for memberships out there. Also doing renewals if you need to get your G3C membership renewed. Be doing that as well. And on top of that, if you do renew or sign up at the event, there's going to be special prizes that you'll be eligible for. So we definitely want to say thank you to Ms. Moneypenny, who's our sponsor for that, who also I heard had a fantastic weekend out at the Cup. I think the whole world is finding out about the greatness of her Kool-Aid, which is fantastic. And we want to give her a big shout out and a big thank you for helping us out with this event that's coming up here at the Caregivers Cup. So look for the G3C tent while you're out there. Tell your friends and family about this event. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. I mean, the organizer I know that put this together is doing a fantastic job. He's got his ducks in a row. We've got some huge artists coming out for this. I believe one of them is one of the Marleys will be there. As I stated, it's kind of reggae style, but there's going to be a lot of other music as well. There's going to be all kinds of games and events going on. So this looks like it's going to be just a killer event. So you don't want to miss it. You can still get tickets for it. I know you can go online and get those, or you can also get them at the Cannabis Corner at the G3C. And, man, we're looking forward to it. So make sure you stop by the booth when you're out there, all right? We want to see you guys. Also, what do we got going on? We have the Adopt a Highway coming up July 20th. I know that's a little ways out. Just make mention of it. We have our soup kitchen coming up next Tuesday. So if you guys can help out with the soup kitchen we would really appreciate it. Mr. Matt is going above and beyond the Call of Duty here and still trying to show up and do this. If you know what's up with that, then you know how much we appreciate what he is doing. So thank you, Matt, for continuing on with this, and we hope your continued recovery goes well, and we look to see you there. But in the meantime, we need all of our members at the G to step up on this one and help us out with this next soup kitchen. So next Tuesday, if you can be there, really would appreciate it. We're serving the lunch as we always do. So we need to be over there by about 10:30 so we can have it prepped and be ready to serve. All right? Next Tuesday. All right. Other stuff we got coming up. The 710 party. I know this is a little ways off. It's really not that far away. But the 710 party for the G is coming up soon. And it's going to be a Wednesday, I do believe. So there's nothing else going on a Wednesday. So this 710 is going to be fantastic because it'll be the place to be. We have, as always, an awesome menu prepped. We're going to have games and prizes going on. And on top of that, we have special musical performing artist, Iron Snake. So we're ready to rock this out with 80s flair. And we're doing a costume contest for this as well. And get this, Iron Snake will be the judge of the contest. So these guys who are experts in 80s wear are going to be doing the judging for our G3C 80s costume contest. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be fantastic. You want to make sure you prep for that. Again, obviously, it's on 7/10. It's a Wednesday. It's going to be going on all day long. There's no price for this. It's just got to be a member. That's it. So that makes it even more awesome. I know we're going to have the Hot Dog Man from Davison coming back out. And like I said, a whole bunch of other stuff. But if you haven't seen Iron Snake before, go to YouTube, Google that crap. Look it up. They're amazing. All right. These guys put on the full show. They're fantastic performers, and the costumes are they're awesome, dude. Totally awesome. So if you're a big fan of the 80s, if you're from the era, whatever, you can identify. It doesn't matter, man. Everybody loves the 80s, and it's going to be a great celebration on our 710 event. So dress up if you want to compete. Dress up even if you don't want to compete. We want to see your big hair and your cowboy boots and your fishnets and whatever else you got. Bring it, all right? It's going to be a party. 710, all right? I think that's it for the events for now. If I'm forgetting any, I do apologize. Of course, we got our golf league going on. These guys are doing awesome. We've got softball league going on as well. The team is still undefeated as of yet. Kudos, G3C. And, of course, we do have our Roar golf event coming up in August. So I want to make mention of that. Still time for you guys to get your teams together and sign up for that if you would like to play. Tickets are $75, 18 holes of golf, hot dog at the turn, steak dinner, and money going to help support the Reach Out and Read program for the Hurley Kids Medical. So it's pretty awesome. All right. That's it for the events. I do want to start off with one more announcement. The club now is over 39,500 members. We are very close to 40,000 members. It's very exciting. So
I just was telling somebody today it was 38,000.
You lied.
So I lied. I'm sorry. I admit it. So I apologize. I beg forgiveness. But I was on a story and we're talking about it, and I said there's 38,000 members. So I was under. That's
Right
quite
on.
a bit.
So we're close to 40. I don't know. We'll drop balloons or spray confetti or whatever. I did see on speaking of spraying things, I did see a video on Facebook of the cannabis cup where it looked like there was about, 1 to 2 cubic yards of weed on a tarp that was being shot through a leaf vacuum blower. I don't even know what that contraption was. That was freaking amazing. Mad Max, you are an animal. If you're the one who put that together, that was freaking awesome. That was legendary. All right. The dude freaking made it rain weed. I kid you not, it was raining weed at the High Times Cup.
You know how many people I know that was their fantasy?
There was dudes up there with bags, just stuffing backpacks, and it's just pouring down. That's definitely something you want to do outside.
Yeah, that or you'd be cleaning up forever indoors. And by the way, I sent you those links to the I sent you the pictures of the sign, the sign for the event too for the
Great on.
the club.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent. Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay. what stuff we got going on in the world? Let's get to it. Talk about it. In the news. First up, Illinois, state to the south, right? They legislature had passed. I think they're still waiting for the governor to sign. Let me get the updates on this for you. They just basically put this out here. So yeah, we're going to have recreational cannabis in Illinois. Sorry, just looking at the article here. And the article that I'm looking at, its main emphasis is how much it's going to cost. Apparently there's a big cost involved in the production of cannabis in Illinois due to the licensing processing system that they created. They're talking about right now 3.5 grams, running patients around $37.50. So essentially, it's like $10 a gram. They're saying some places are $15 to $20 a gram in Chicago. Of course, Chicago is probably a more expensive market, but at any rate, basically, when things are scarce, they cost more. It's just a law of economics. It's pretty basic. And at any rate, they're just getting started. So Illinois, congrats, definitely, for finally having medicinal cannabis and recreational cannabis available. It's fantastic. And it's just another progression in things. Illinois' governor originally started out by saying that he was not going to be legalizing cannabis. I said flat out when he was running for governor, I'm not going to do that. And then here we are doing it. So good stuff.
That kind of shows me an arrogance here, because it's like it's supposed to be a democratic form of governance in our country, and somebody's saying, as a governor, I'm not going to allow this. I mean, that's kind of an arrogant thing to say.
Honestly, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you, John. But I think you could also look at it from both sides, and I think that you could say, well, there's a politician who did listen to his constituency, because originally he was saying, I'm not doing it. And maybe that was his own personal values, feelings. Maybe it was what he thought his constituency wanted. But obviously things changed and swayed the other way, and so he did it. So, we could say that he did it for the money, or he did it for the wrong reasons, or whatever. We don't really know, do we? But that's a problem with the difference between lobbying and the real democratic process. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, what's going on here, because they're trying to get the same result in the end, get a law passed, right? But I think it's a good thing that they do have recreational cannabis available. I do not want to see people going to jail for a harmless thing. It just doesn't make sense. The businesses and the regulatory agencies and the bureaucracy that's being created around the, let's say, the regulation of cannabis, I think is exhaustive. I think it's unnecessary, and I think that it's, like I've stated before, just like here in Michigan, it's partly, in fact, to these fat cats who really just want to put the claws in and control everything. And so, is there a need to regulate this as heavily as we are? Certainly not. We regulate alcohol pretty heavily, and it is carefully produced and sold and so on. And you could say that's with good cause. The effects of being drunk are pretty drastic. The effects of having too much alcohol can be deadly. And cannabis is not the same. So to, come at it from the same mindset, it's unnecessary. It doesn't, and not that it doesn't need to be regulated in some way, shape, or form, but to have the same type of emphasis placed on it, it's unnecessary. And we are allowing our states to do that. We're allowing them to treat this as if it's some sort of nuclear substance that if it's left out of careful watch, it's just going to go unfettered. And that's not the case. So at any rate, there is going to be a lot of regulation in Illinois. We knew that from the start. Their medical program was highly, highly regulated and very expensive. And so the recreational will be likely no different. But at any rate, at least people now have access, and people can stop going to jail for it. So I look at it still as a positive thing. And of course, on top of that, you still have the black market going. And I, don't want to be the cheerleader for the black market, but when we look at this and we compare that, oftentimes it's the common man versus the fat cat. And from the common man's perspective, obviously we want the underdog to win. So at any rate, moving on here, Illinois, kudos to you. Let's see how it goes, right? They are very close to us. Nevada, just passed this. I think this is really interesting. Nevada's had recreational now since 2016. So they've had it on the books for a little bit. They've gotten their feet wet. They've had medical before that, although not as long as us. But at any rate, in 2020, Nevada employers cannot refuse to hire a job applicant for failing a marijuana screening test, which this is the first law of its kind in any state. We have sort of the opposite going on here in Michigan, just so you know. And this is basically what they said. It is unlawful for any employer in this state to fail or refuse to hire a prospective employee because the prospective employee submitted to a screening test and the results of the screening test indicate the presence of marijuana, states the law signed by the governor on June 5th. So there are some exceptions. So this is how this is managed. It says the law does not apply to firefighters, EMTs, employees who operate a motor vehicle, or those who, in the determination of the employer, could adversely affect others' safety. So maybe you're like a crane operator or something along those lines. There's other exceptions that can be made to this law to make sure that everyone remains safe. But at any rate, for the most part, in general jobs, you can't refuse someone employment because they're using something that is legal, which makes perfect sense when you stop and think about it. And I know a lot of folks would say, oh, well, what do we do if the employee shows up high? Well, guess what? We've had alcohol available now for quite some time, and there's ways of dealing with things when people show up inappropriately prepared for their job, right? So I'm not going to tell you how to manage your own staff, but obviously there are legal ways that you can manage them effectively and still be law-abiding and still be fair and be able to manage your business correctly, all right? So if you have a problem with someone showing up high for work, you can deal with that. And that's exactly what this law allows them to do, and that's exactly what we need to have here in Michigan. Michigan's a right-to-work state, right-to-work employer, which basically means I can hire and fire whoever I want to, but I also have to abide by the, ECOA or whatever it is, non-discrimination laws. It says you can't discriminate against somebody hiring them or employing them because of race, gender, sexuality, so on and so forth, which are all good things. So not that this is included in that, but along those lines, again, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to hire somebody or why somebody shouldn't be able to get hired who is using something that is legal. All right? So good stuff there. I think that's awesome. Good job, Nevada. And hopefully Michigan can take some notes there and do something like that as well. Some people will say, the naysayers in Michigan are going to say that's unmanageable. You're going to have all these people stoned in the workplace, blah, blah, blah. And that's just simply untrue. And there's major employers who actually went out and fought against recreational, like Myers. I mean, Myers employs a lot of people. They also wrote a big check to try to prevent cannabis being legal for recreational purposes in Michigan. So should Myers be forced to change their policies? Because I don't think they'd probably do it on their own based on their past. Yeah, I think they should. There's no reason why a cashier or, someone who stocks the shelves or does customer service, why they couldn't use cannabis in the comfort of their home when they're not working, show up to work when they're not buzzed or high, and do their job and have it all worked out perfectly fine. There's no reason why that can't happen. And we need to have employers recognize that and respect it as well. So it's just a matter of education, perception change, and it took Nevada approximately 3 years to do that. We need to push for it so it doesn't take us, longer than 3 years. Hope it's already taken us. We haven't done anything yet, right? We're still talking about expunging people who are still in jail for something that's legal now. So there are more pressing matters at hand, but at any rate, this is one of them. And it's something that at least I'm glad because I see this and it shows that there is a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel for sensibility and employment in the workplace. So that's cool. It's good. All right, Cincinnati, another state just to the south of us. And boy, oh boy, I mean, some of us, and myself included, have complained about how the state of Michigan has not necessarily been the best that it could be in the cannabis industry. It's not bad by any means, but it's not the best. And we've had our complaints. But you could look at states like Illinois or Ohio, for example, and quickly see that we have it a lot better than they do. And Ohio is a good example. Ohio still stinks for cannabis. And this is a good thing, but it highlights what needs to change in Ohio. So the Cincinnati City Council voted to decrim 100 grams, up to 100 grams of cannabis within their city limits. So we had similar measures passed here in Michigan, if you don't recall. Traverse City, Ann Arbor, Flint, a few other towns in Michigan sort of symbolically passed these decrim measures saying we won't use our forces to go after people who are consuming for personal consumption purposes. If we do run across it and we have to deal with it, we'll issue a civil fine for that, similar to like a parking ticket, and they can move on. And Cincinnati's doing the same thing. It's sort of a symbolic, if you will. I think you'll probably see other cities in Ohio do this in the future, where they can reallocate the resources that would normally be used for this sort of thing that they have to deal with because it's on the books. They put something of their own on the books, and now they can reallocate those resources. So, good stuff. Hopefully, Ohio can become a better place, although I have my doubts. All right, Jamaica. Doctor reportedly is working on a landrace strain that was smoked by Bob Marley. Let me pull up the article here so I can check this out. It's on Twitter. See if I can find it. It says the goal of all this research is to establish a brand identity and to become like champagne in France. And meanwhile, championing equitable business practices, whatever that means. So this was a tweet from some person, Marijuana News, excuse me. Anyways, talking about this doctor working on bringing back a landrace strain smoked by Bob Marley. I would caution you, not that this is one of those, but there's a lot of different products that have been so-called sponsored by Bob Marley, and I would just tell you, make sure you check the authenticity of that and that the people who are benefiting from your purchase are the right people. All right? All right, moving on here. In other words, don't support a rip-off artist, all right? Not saying that this guy's a rip-off artist. Just there are plenty of them out there. Make sure you check that stuff. Okay, last one I wanted to share with you, and I thought this was very cool because I already knew this, but I think it's good to see it become mainstream and people have to deal with it, all right? And we're talking about newborn babies. This is also on Twitter, apparently. Hold on a second. But talking about cannabinoids in newborn babies. So obviously there was some cannabis use by the mother while the child was in utero. And at any rate, they're saying that these babies are actually coming out healthier. Okay, that's the nuts and bolts of the article. But the babies who have had that are coming out healthier, and babies who are breastfed by mothers who have cannabis in their system naturally receive those doses of cannabis by breastfeeding. And it triggers hunger, go figure. And it also promotes growth and development. This is what their study is saying. Study confirms, blah, blah, blah. You can look this up for yourself and check it out. But there's been a couple different studies that have actually pointed this out. One of them was, I think, done by mothers in Jamaica, of all places. So figure that. But yeah, I think this is good research because obviously when we talk about adult cannabis use, whether it be medicinal or recreational, I mean, the first thing doctors like to say is, don't let a pregnant woman get around this stuff, or, don't let little kids get around this stuff. It could just ruin them, make them retarded, whatever it is that doctors may want to say or health professionals may want to try to imply. And it's really not true. I mean, in fact, actually, they're finding out that children are more healthy when they're, again, receiving additional supplemental cannabinoids in utero, and then also after they're born by the mother, who is obviously not directly the baby, but the mother who's still consuming cannabis. Child gets it through the breast milk. Child ends up healthier. So that's a good thing. And also there's another study out there, I won't get into too much detail, but it shows that mothers actually produce on their own endocannabinoids and transfer those into the child as well during the breastfeeding stage. So if you've ever had an infant, maybe get tested by Child Protective Services and they say, oh, well, this child has cannabinoids in its system. Well, yeah, it probably does, even if the mother isn't consuming cannabis, because the mother's body produces its own endocannabinoids, and those can be transferred into the newborn. So interesting stuff. It's kind of cool. And all mammals have cannabinoid receptors, if you didn't know that. So if you think like, oh, my dog ate some weed, is it going to die? No, it actually has receptors in its brain and in its central nervous system built to receive those additional cannabinoids that it would get from consuming the cannabis. Now, I would assume your dog would be consuming it and not inhaling. But if your dog inhales, more power to you. All right. All right. That's the info I have for you on this, guys. This week's show. Glad to be back in the studio. Glad it's finally warming up outside. I'm super excited and pumped about this upcoming Caregivers Cup. It looks to be a spectacular event. A lot of friends and family going to be out there. I think it's just going to be a great, wonderful time. So please spread the word about that. We're definitely looking to have an awesome weekend. And again, congratulations to all of the High Times Cannabis Cup winners from this past weekend. I know a lot of you guys got your start right at the G3C, and you're moving on and doing bigger things, and I think that's just fantastic. It really just goes to show that, you know, the backbone of the cannabis industry in Michigan is built by individuals and people. That's a wonderful thing. So congrats to everybody. You guys have a fantastic week. Enjoy the weather. Hopefully we don't get rained out too badly. Make sure you get your basements checked and all that, and get your duck boots out because you're going to need them. All right. Thanks for joining me this week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. Please check out the allpointstv.com for all the other important podcasts to find out what's going on in your city and around the areas. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great week. See you.